Hello friends, it's Greg here on the Blue Feather Ephemera channel. If you're new here, I want to wish you welcome. If not, welcome back. I have an eBay store where I sell vintage magazine print advertising, and each week I make a video to show what's sold in that eBay store. This week I sold 14 advertisements for $201.78, and also each week we cover a bonus topic. This week's bonus topic I call This Means War. And we're going to go into some detail about the dog-eat-dog world of vintage print selling in eBay. And we're going to cover some of the cutthroat tactics that you're going to find when you get involved in this niche. So stay tuned for that. First, let's take a look at those ads. This first ad is a full-page, full-color ad from 1967. It ran in Fortune magazine. It's for the Irish Industrial Development Authority. They have offices in Chicago, Illinois. And in the detail here, it shows some fictitious company with a board that's investigating a plant abroad. They're wanting to put some kind of manufacturing overseas. And in the detail of this ad, it just talks about Ireland being a good place to do business in Europe. And this ad sold for $14.77 to a repeat customer. It's going back to its home city and to its original advertiser, that Irish IDA in Chicago. Next up is a small partial page advertisement from Sport Flying Magazine, 1976. The product advertised is a Benson gyrocopter, and they have a office in Raleigh, North Carolina, and all they do is sell you the plans, and you take those plans and just get into your garage and you build this thing yourself. And in an early video where it talked about homemade aircraft, I said, as far as it applies to me. I can't drive a nail straight, so even though this might be legal, it's not a good idea for me to do something like this. But in the picture, it says, "This is Mrs. Springer's Benson gyrocopter," and this lady, Marion Springer of Tracy, California, flew her customized Benson 436 miles in short hops across the mountains and desert to a PRA fly-in. I think PRA stands for Personal Recreation Aircraft. But this, again, was a 1976 event. And it says that these Benson gyrocopters are flown from California to Kitty Hawk. And $6.77 is what I charged for this one. Like I said, it's small. It's barely 3 inches by about 5.5. And a buyer in Marion, California found this. So it's going back home to its hometown, not the town of the company, but the town of the person featured in the ad here. Before I move on, I just got one more thing to say about this ad. You'll notice I went back to the title. Not only did I put Raleigh, North Carolina in there as the name of the place where this business is located, Benson Aircraft Corporation, but I also did put Tracy, California in there, and the buyer is in Tracy, California. So as the seller, I've got probably about 98% certainty why that buyer bought this ad. And again, I say it all the time, I would never presume to instruct about how you should list or do anything in your eBay business. But my opinion is the only reason this ad sold to that buyer is because I put that place name in there. So for me, in my store, I'm going to continue to put place names in the titles as often as I can when I find them. Next up is another very small ad. This one for Coral Sands Hotel, and this appeared in Private Pilot magazine, 1979. So another magazine related to flying. I listed several of those around the same time. But this one here talks about this resort, and it says it's at the center of a 3-mile strand of pink beach, and they have 33 rooms on 14 acres. They have, it says, everything but golf. Now, this being from a pilot magazine, it has references here to flying in. So it says the North Eleuthera Airport has a 4,500-foot port of entry and no tie down or landing fees associated with the use of it. So, uh, interested angle on the flying aspect of getting to that hotel. Here's another reference to the size. This is even smaller than the last one. This is barely, or not hardly, 3 inches by about 3 1/4 inches. And I sold this for $6.77 also. It's going to South Carolina. I mentioned in a few of my past videos how I noticed that things related to cold weather sports sell really well. Ice skating, snow skiing, in this case, snowmobiling, also just cold weather environments in general, whether it's cold weather clothing or like that ad that featured the snow cat in the liquor ad that I sold a while back. Things related to cold environments seem to do well. This is no exception here. This ad for Coleman Ski Rule snowmobile talks about how all snowmobiles used to be pretty much the same until the ski rule came along. But here's a closer up picture of this snowmobile. It's the Ski Rule RTX. This ran in True Magazine 1971, and I sold it for $14.77. It's going to Minnesota. Next up is an ad for Lee Bib Overalls, a company based in Kansas City, Missouri. And in this advertisement, they basically just deconstructed a pair of that workwear, and they show you all of the different features. It's kind of funny in parts. It talks, here's a cigar tucked into this pocket, and it says it can serve as a cigar store, also as a medicine chest. It shows the hammer loop and these buttons that don't rust and the U-shaped crotch. And right here where the fellers are standing, it shows all of the different inseams and suspender lengths that make this a perfect fit for anybody. $18.77 sent this to a repeat customer in North Carolina, and it ran in Progressive Farmer 1964. Next up is a 1977 advertisement for the Jeep Wagoneer, and in the image here it shows the blue vehicle with the wood accent on the side, and it's parked in front of a nice house that's up on a bluff overlooking the bay. And it says the Jeep Wagoneer is rugged, versatile, and accomplished like its owner. There's not much more to talk about other than, in the detail of the text, it's making some references to its off road capabilities and 4-wheel drive and the V8 engine. Just a nice, basic, good looking Jeep ad. I sell a lot of them. This one sold for $16.77. It ran in Classic Magazine. It's on its way to North Carolina. Here's an advertisement for the Inland Container Corporation. They basically made shipping boxes, and this company had a plant in Louisville, Kentucky, and they advertised in a 1960 special edition, November 1960. This is the one that commemorated the Civil War, like I've talked about in past videos, but it's just a very plain and very simple ad, and it has, of course, that graphic on there, but I would guess that whoever bought this had some sort of association either with the company or with Louisville, Kentucky. 1477 is the price that it brought. It was in a Courier Journal supplement that commemorated the Civil War, and it's on its way to Illinois. I've mentioned a few times that I love old cars, and so if you've watched any of my prior videos, you could probably guess this is my favorite ad of the week. And this ran in Motor Trend Magazine 1949, the product Jaguar XK120. And I'm going to zoom in here and just let you salivate over this car while I talk for just a minute. This past week, I watched a movie called Island in the Sun, which was about a fictitious Caribbean island and some of the folks that live there. And some of the British, I guess you'd say the aristocracy that lived on the island, there was a fellow among them named Maxwell Fleury, and he drove one of these and just zipped all over the island in it. He nearly ran down several people and all that kind of stuff. Maybe he did run down one person. I'm not sure, but anyway, um, just great to see that little car zipping around. His was white, but apart from that, I believe it was this model, nearly identical. Uh, Others in the James Mason, Harry Belafonte, Joan Fontaine, Joan Collins, and several others. It was a fantastic movie. Anyway, this nice ad right here sold for $18.77. It's on its way to Maryland. Here's an advertisement from 1962. It ran in House Beautiful magazine, which maybe sounds like kind of an odd place to put an outdoors or sportsman's type of advertisement, but you got to remember in the fall of the year, especially close to Christmas, the housewives who normally read those magazines were looking for gift ideas for their husbands. And I think it was smart of the company to recognize that. This is an ad for Leupold and Stevens Instruments, and it's the Leupold Sportsman's Compass. It's a compass. It says that you sight it like a rifle. But the company based in Portland, Oregon, ran this ad. This is a small one, another small one. It's a little bit over 2 inches by almost 4.5. But this ran, like I said, House Beautiful 1962. I only charged $6.77 for it, and it's on its way to Pennsylvania. The sale of this advertisement here might be the surprise of the week. Greyhound Van Lines nationwide moving service. It's got a blue truck. I put blue truck in the title. And this ran in Better Homes and Gardens 1965. Now, Greyhound, more famous for their buses. I think I may have been aware before I saw this ad that they had some kind of moving vans and things, but it was not embedded in my consciousness for recall. There are other moving and storage companies that I have ads up for sale. Several of them, as a matter of fact, Atlas Van Lines, Mayflower, probably some others as well. And I don't recall that I've sold any of them in recent months, but this one here sold within 24 hours of listing. I got $10.77 for it, and it's on its way to California. Here's a real nice ad that I was glad to see do really well. This appeared in House and Garden magazine 1957, and it's a planner furniture, mid-century modern contemporary furniture by designer Paul McCobb. Now, Paul McCobb, he emerged from the 1940s as one of the preeminent interior designers and had major influence throughout the 1950s into the 1960s. And so much of what we think of as mid-century modern was his brainchild or based on his influence. And as a matter of fact, talking about influence, if you do a search in eBay of Paul McCobb furniture, you'll see a ton of listings that'll say Paul McCobb style or uh, uh, in the vein of Paul McCobb or Paul McCobb influence. And eBay tells sellers not to list things that way, but they try to get away with it anyway. And there's a lot of it in there. But if you'll do that search, to weed out the reproductions and the fakes, so to speak. If you'll go up and choose sort by highest price first, uh, I'll just say that make sure you've got your rescue inhaler with you, because that'll knock the wind out of you looking at some of the prices of original Paul McCobb furniture on eBay. Anyway, this ad here was for the furniture maker that was making furniture he designed, Planner Contemporary Furniture, and they had 4 different factories. It looked like Chicago, Grand Rapids, Michigan, Brookline, Massachusetts, and Winchendon, Massachusetts. Um, Real interesting ad, nice and colorful, full page. I sold it for $16.77. It went to North Carolina. From 1976 is this advertisement for Federal Express. On the side of the van and in my title, it says it's the world's only small package airline. And of course, FedEx has grown a lot since 1976, but all its competition has grown also, and it probably ain't the world's only small package airline anymore. But in the details here, uh, no words at all other than just the logos on the equipment. That had me thinking, these days that company is called FedEx, and anybody who has been around for a while probably remembers that Federal Express used to be what was on the trucks and aircraft. But there may be a whole generation of younger folks that might not even know that FedEx was at one time called Federal Express. Anyway, this was a 2-page ad separated down the center, and I sold it for $23.77. It's on its way to California. Here's a cute ad from the Singer Sewing Machine Company, 1964. This ran in Saturday Evening Post. And in the detail here, it shows this little girl, like every woman in America who hasn't got a thing to wear. The Singer Sewing Machine can help you solve that problem. When you read in the detail down here, it just talks about all of the different features that help you do all of these sewing chores that are used in making and repairing clothing. It says it's a push button bobbin exclusive with Singer. So that's one of the touch and sew features. But $14.77 sent this ad to Colorado. Okay, that brings us up to the last ad of the week. This one from 1952, General Electric. It's an electric automatic blanket with a thermostat control, and this ran in the Saturday Evening Post. Now that I'm at the last ad, it occurred to me to go back and look. Not very many of the ads that I sold would be considered, well, to me, old. I sold one from 1949, and then 1952 and 57, and everything else is from the 1960s and 70s. So a bunch of relatively new ads, to my way of thinking, is what sold this week. And I guess it's like anything else; it's going to vary. But that did strike me. So anyway, in the detail of this here, it shows this husband and wife here at bedtime. I think that's kind of funny because this is a 1952 magazine, and they're in the same bed. And if y'all remember, Ricky and Lucy couldn't sleep in the same bed on TV. And I think Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore couldn't sleep in the same bed and all of that. It was way up in the 60s. And I think it may have been the Brady Bunch, might be the first time they showed a husband and wife going to bed in the same bed. So just a little bit of nostalgia and a little bit of history there. But this was a fun ad to sell, nice and colorful with the pink blanket there. And $16.77 sent this to North Carolina. Now we're going to pick up that bonus topic that I talked about when we started. This week it's called This Means War. And like I said, we'll talk about the cutthroat, dog eat dog, down in the trenches business of selling vintage print ads on eBay. I'll talk to you about, well, what I found. I was shocked. I think you'll be shocked. Well, I don't know, but we'll take a look at it in just a minute. First of all, I want to say that uh, in response to my videos, I get some great questions from viewers, and I'll say it again: how much I appreciate that. Y'all don't know, because it gives me ideas for bonus topics. It allows me to share what I think are some best practices, or at least, what's working for me. And it gets new information out into the community. So I appreciate y'all for that. But what I did is I went looking for some information in other eBay stores that where I could show examples of different things that sellers use to address the topics that people are asking about in the comments on my videos. Before I show you what I found in other stores, I've got to be open and honest with you right now, though. If there's any anger that comes out in the next minute or two, it won't be from me. I hope it's not from you. But I do want you to know that title, This Means War, it's misleading. They say if you want people to watch your videos, you need some kind of a hook or clickbait, or you need to pull people in, that might have an interest in your topic. And so uh, there is a grain of truth, though, to what I'm going to show you, because what I found, it could possibly make somebody not maybe mad, maybe upset, a little aggravated or frustrated. Not me. I ain't that kind of person. Now I'm here to share information, and this is what I found. I found some imitation, and they say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. It means that what I'm doing here, when I see some imitation out there in other stores, uh, that that means that uh, people are listening and people find some value in what they see here. If I didn't want people to take something away from this and use it in their own stores, I got no business being here. So that's why I say I was shocked is to find that I'm seeing some things adopted and employed, and to me it's thrilling. It's exciting to see, actually. So um, let's take a look at a few screens and a couple of stores, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Well, cutting to the chase, I know that y'all don't need the dross. I went into the search bar and I just entered vintage magazine print ad. And what's on screen right now is what came up. Of course, I've redacted the actual ad, a lot of information from the title of the ad, the store logo, and the store name, just because I don't have permission to talk about this person's store. So I just removed anything that might disclose the identity of the seller or anything about the store. I looked at this and I thought, well, okay, I've got this exact same advertisement for sale in my store. And I looked at the price, and it says the price was $10.76. It's been marked down 10%. And I was like, 1076, that's what I would put on. Well, I would put 1077 on something like this. So that seller beat me by a penny, and I almost didn't think anything else about it. But I was like, okay, well, now I'm curious. So then I scrolled on down the page just a little bit, and I was surprised just a little bit more because I saw the shipping charge there that I've highlighted, $4.76 standard shipping. And so that's a flat rate shipping charge. And my shipping charge is $4.77. So again, this seller beat me on the shipping charge by a penny. So the overall cost, without any discounts or anything, the overall cost of this ad for a buyer would be 2 cents cheaper than what I have it listed for. So I scrolled on down just a little bit more, and I found this. In the item description, everything inside this yellow box is cut and pasted word for word out of my store. And like I said before, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. I love to see this, and that's because um, I make these YouTube videos for a reason. I'm not going to go out there and tell people what I do and expect them, to have any kind of qualms about not doing it. I encourage everybody, look at other stores, benchmark practices. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Look and see what somebody else is doing that you may think works for you. And so apparently, an eBay seller has just happened either upon my videos or into my store without seeing the videos first, and they saw some things that they liked, and that's why I'm here. That's what it's all about. And here's where I'm going with this. Yeah, they cut and pasted it, used it in their store. Didn't take them a lot of time. Took me a lot of time to write it down. I wrote every word of that. Um, but here's the thing, you better believe before I wrote a word of it, I had visited a half a dozen or maybe a dozen other stores, and I had read seller policies. I had read, just general ephemera information and what people wanted the customers to know about the products that they were selling. And I took what I liked and what I didn't like, and I put them in different baskets, and I borrowed from the like basket when I wrote that statement down. So, yeah, I benchmarked. I wrote it, but was it original to me? I can't take credit for all that. And I appreciate the folks who already had that much work done for me, just like I hope this person appreciates being able to uh, use that description. But the other thing to say is this seller has included a couple of things that I didn't think of. For USPS Ground Advantage, I didn't mention in my statement, I don't think that Ground Advantage has tracking that will be provided. The other thing down at the bottom, it says that the uh, customer should check their eBay profile before buying and make sure that their address information and everything else is up to date before they purchase, and that way they'll save some time and trouble. So I'll be borrowing that and taking that back to my store, thanking this seller for pointing that out to me. I thought it was done, but then one more thing came to mind on the topic that I want to mention, and that's when this seller, if their ad sells for 2 cents less than mine, then it'll sell, and then the next customer that comes along looking for that ad, I'll make more money on it than this seller did. So um, that works out for me in my opinion. The other thing is there's a huge population of advertising out there. Literally hundreds of thousands of print ads are out there to be sold. And yeah, we've got one identical ad between our stores. There may be more, but here's the thing: I've got uh, going on 9,000 ads up for sale, and there's plenty that I can sell. I don't have to worry about one ad or 100 that might be duplicated in somebody else's store for a lower price. So there's that to consider, and there's differences between the stores. For example, the buyer that we're looking at, they use different shipping materials based on what I've read here. Also, they accept best offers, and I don't. That's, you know, sometimes lower income for this seller, but also they might lure in customers that I might not catch because I don't offer them. Also, uh, I offer 100% free returns, and this seller don't offer free returns. So there's just a whole lot of differences between the stores that result in a different customer experience. And this seller, their idea of success may be different than mine. It may change. They may reevaluate in 2 months or 6 months and decide this ain't working for them, or they want to do something different. I might do the same thing. For example, 2 months ago, I said that the next time postal rates increased, I'd have to reevaluate my shipping charge for flat shipping. Well, that change occurred July the 1st. There was a change in shipping rates, and I have yet to do that analysis and see if I need to go ahead and bump my flat shipping up some. I know that I said that I would need to seriously consider it, and so I'm a little bit behind getting that done. But you know, all things being equal, all things are never equal on eBay because everybody's got a different idea about how they want to run things, and um, so if this person wants to chase my prices in my store and come back and visit often and change when I change, I just that'd be pretty sad. I wouldn't want to do that. So I hope that they don't think that my idea of success is going to work for them. Anyway, going to move on and say one more thing about this too. There's a whole universe of hundreds of thousands of ads out there, and just because I found a few similar a similar ad, there might be a few. There could be dozens that are similar between these stores. I don't know. I'm not going to spend time going and checking. I'm not going to go check that out. I will say that I've got almost 9,000 ads listed, and I've only run across less than 200 duplicates. Um, I'm going to say also, I've been watching Marty's channel, Jiminy Flip It, for way over a year and watching his live listing shows. I've been in his store and browsed his um, selection of ads up for sale. And I don't know, between my store and Marty's, I don't know that I've ever seen a duplicate ad between those two stores. And that's almost 16,000 ads, maybe over 16,000 ads. And so for one ad or 10 or 100, that's not going to make any difference to me. I've got a bunch of other ads up for sale. What I've done here is I've popped over into another store. This was actually the very second thing that I looked at, and it just so happened that it's a seller who is active on the channel and somebody that I've communicated with before. We have a rapport, and I felt like that I could have displayed some things from the store without redacting it, but at the same time, that seller has not signed up to have their ads displayed on my videos, and to have his stuff examined. So if you're watching, you know who you are. I appreciate the use of these images just to communicate a point, and that is, I believe that this seller saw something that I was doing. They liked the idea and they've incorporated it into the store. And that's putting some of these store policies and just some of this, what you can expect if you buy from this seller. Uh, it went into a bullet form, and it's on a page that's exhibited as a JPEG in the photographs of the store. Now, all of that stuff that was crammed into those paragraphs and paragraphs that was in the item description, what this is, that basically boiled down to its simplest form. And you can't always rely on a customer to read everything, but you can usually count on them to look at the pictures. And when it's in there so simple and easy to read in bullet form, then it's gonna be communicated. That's gonna save you, in my opinion. I know that it has saved me a lot of time responding to buyer questions just because they didn't want to read all of those paragraphs in the item description. So I feel like it's a good practice, and it actually, I feel gratitude to this seller knowing that they've liked what they found and chose to incorporate that into their store. But here's the thing, I can't take credit for that. Um, Doug on the Vintage Codger channel was selling print ads and already using this method to communicate information to shoppers long before I ever found it. And I'm sure he benchmarked it from somebody else and carried it into his store. But you know, it's things that are passed along that make not only our experience as sellers better on eBay, but I feel like some of these things even improve the customer experience and keep them coming back to eBay, and that's always a good thing. So, with that, we're going to put a bow on the topic of This Means War and just wrap up by saying that I'm 100% completely fine with you showing up here and taking these ideas that we're discussing and returning to your stores and implementing some of them, not only to give you a better experience as a seller, but also to improve the customer experience. So I thank you for not just watching, but showing me that you find some value in what I'm doing here, and it's being a help to you. So one more time, I appreciate y'all so much, and I always look forward to your comments and your feedback so that we can keep working together on this. But I'm going to move on now to the weekly recap screen where we'll wrap up. So it's been a fun weekly video where I got to geek out over 14 fantastic ads that sold for $201.78. This week I did not have any ads that sold to a customer with the same name as a company or a person mentioned in the advertisement, but I did have 2 ads going back to their home cities. I didn't have any sales through the eBay Global Shipping Program this week, but I did have 2 repeat customers. As always, thank you for watching. I hope to see you again next week. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more content like this, please hit the like button, share it with friends, and subscribe to the channel. Also, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time.